conclusion is getting understanding. How do we get understanding? And obviously through Bible study, Jesus says many, many things in Matthew 24, but he doesn't spend the time to explain abomination of desolation to us in Matthew 24. And we would like him to explain it, but he doesn't. And he says, in a sense, I don't need to explain it to you, because Daniel explained it to you. If you want to know what the abomination of desolation stands for, go study Daniel, right? So Matthew 24:15 says, when you see. Who's that? That's 2,000 years worth of people, most of whom have died. So who's left? If they're already dead, they're not going to see, right, the abomination of desolation. Who is going to see the abomination of desolation standing in the holy place? Those of us in the end times who, live into the tribulation. So when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet standing in the holy place. Okay, I looked up the Greek. Holy means holy. Place means place, spot, or location. Right? Jesus knew how to say the temple word. He didn't say the temple word. He said the holy place. Okay, the Temple Mount was built by Solomon to be the foundation for the temple. So the holy temple was to be built on the foundation, the Temple Mount. All the buildings are gone as Jesus said they would be, but the foundation is still, the place is still there, right? So he's saying the holy place, the holy spot. Whoever reads, let him understand, right? The key is to get understanding from Daniel. So to understand in Greek means to exercise the mind, to comprehend, to heed, to consider, to perceive, to think, to understand, right? In modern language, I've got it as to grasp the true meaning. And I would suggest to you all that the difference between what we know versus what the Baptists and the Catholics and other people know, what we know to be true in the Bible is based on we have faith in the facts of the words. We read the words, we say the words are true. The words have meaning, otherwise the words wouldn't be there. We understand the words, and we don't go to heaven when we die, because he said you go into the grave and you come up either in the first resurrection and second resurrection, and there's lots and lots of scriptures to show that to be true. So we grasp the true meaning of the thief on the cross by exercising the mind. We strive to understand, grasp the meaning of it, right? And we learn from other scriptures that Jesus was dead for 3 days and 3 nights. So you can't have Jesus and the thief the same day going to live in paradise, i.e. in heaven, when Jesus promised that the only sign he would give, that he would be dead in the grave for 3 days and 3 nights. And so then you re-examine that verse and you take out the comma that was erroneously placed in there, and then it reads, I'm telling you today, you're going to be with me in paradise. With that attitude, you're going to be with me in the kingdom of God. And he said, when you come in your kingdom, remember me. Well, Jesus hasn't come in his kingdom yet. So, but anyhow, we grasp it by making the effort to understand. So the meaning of the two words, abomination of desolation, to understand that, to grasp that, we need to exercise the mind one word at a time. And for most of my time in the church, I've always heard it as a complete phrase, right? And I've heard that it's a pig, right, in the holy place, or, throughout history, there have been fulfillments of this, early fulfillments, and it's always been an object, like swine's blood, or in Titus when he tore the temple to pieces, and, they went in and just destroyed it. Okay. So I'm saying let's try and understand it one word at a time, right? To exercise the mind one word at a time. Jesus uses the desolation word in reference to what Daniel has already written. Okay, so how does Daniel describe the desolation event? Daniel 9:26. The people of the prince who is to come, notice, the prince who is to come, shall destroy the city. Which city? Jerusalem. And the sanctuary. Which sanctuary? The whole area, right? And by then they will have set up an altar, because you can't do morning and evening sacrifices without an altar, so there'll be an altar set up. There may be a tent. There may be a very quick temporary structure. Some people say, well, it'll be a full brick temple and it'll take 5 years to build, which I wouldn't count on that. I just wouldn't count on that, because, you know, they don't promise us a full stone replacement temple. And in the first case, it was all done in a tent. It was done in the tabernacle long before David and Solomon got around to building an actual stone building. So the prince, right, shall come, shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. The end of it shall be like a flood until the end of, look at the next 3 words, the war of desolations. Okay, so it's going to be a war that makes the city and the sanctuary desolate. Right? So Daniel has already told us, and Jesus already knew that Daniel has already told us, and that's why he said go back and study, because desolation represents the war of desolations, right, where Jerusalem will be destroyed. Jesus used Daniel to tell us that desolation word refers to the war of desolations where the city and the sanctuary are destroyed. Okay, next verse, 29. On the wing of abominations shall be one what? One person. Shall be one person who makes desolate. Now, when you have a war, you generally have a commander-in-chief who started the war, right? Napoleon, you know, created a lot of desolation. Hitler created a lot of desolation. So the person who makes desolate. When Jesus says the word, 2 words, abomination of desolation, or 3 words, he's referring back to Daniel's reference to these 2 words, but Daniel has expanded on us, and he's told us that there's a person who makes desolate. Right? So these 2 verses tell us that there is a desolation, destruction, that comes from the one who makes the desolation, the person, right, or the desolator person, right? Now we look at the handout for definitions, and your handout there, Hebrew definition for desolation is to stun, or devastate, or to make desolate, or to destroy, or to lay waste. So, desolation, okay, desolation of what? The city and the sanctuary, and we're going to find out in a little bit, it's not only just the city and the sanctuary, it's the whole nation of Israel. It's the Israeli people in Palestine. So also in the Greek definitions there in your handout, the second word is Greek 2049, to lay waste. Right? So Greek, Hebrew, same pretty much thing, to make desolate, to come to naught, to lay waste. So Jesus refers to this desolation event in Luke 21:21. He said, let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains, for these are the days of vengeance, for there will be great distress in the land and wrath upon this people. This people. Which this people? Right? Well, Judea. The people in Judea. Who are the people in Judea right now? The Israeli nation. Right? Verse 24. And they will fall by the edge of the sword. That's old language. What does that mean in modern terms? They'll be killed in war. Right? Right? And they'll be led away captive into all nations. What does that mean? Off they go to prison camps around the world, where Jesus, when he returns, he will have a second Exodus, and he'll bring those from the prison camps back to the land of Israel. And Jerusalem will be trampled underfoot by the Gentiles. Okay, trampled underfoot. This is a code word, right? Revelation 12:2 agrees with this trampled underfoot, the treading underfoot. 11 verse 2, Revelation 11:2. The court has been given to the Gentiles, and they will tread the holy city underfoot for 42 months. How long is that? 3.5 years, right? That's the code period of time. We get it at 42 months. We get it for 3.5 years. We get it as a time and times and half a time. we get it in numbers of days, 1,260 days. So, if you do your math, they all keep coming out to 3.5 years, Okay, in Daniel 8:12 and verse 12 and 13 agree with the treading underfoot. Daniel 8:12, an army was given to oppose the daily sacrifices. They're not existent now. They're all prepared right now. There are zealots in Israel who want to start the morning and evening sacrifices last year. They've been prevented from doing it by their government and the fear of starting a war with the Muslim society there in Jerusalem. Right? It says, to oppose the daily sacrifices, and he cast truth down to the ground. He who? The prince, the desolator, the one who makes desolate. Okay? In the next verse, we have Daniel 8:13. How long will it be concerning the daily sacrifices and the transgression, i.e. rebellion, of desolation? All right? And the giving both of the sanctuary and the host. What does host refer to? Peoples, nation of Israel, shall be trampled underfoot. So there we have it in Revelation. We have it in the New Testament. We have it in the book of Revelation. Daniel 12:7 also shows that the desolation, destruction of Israel. In Daniel 12:7, it shall be for a time and times and half a time. There's your 3.5 years again. And from, it's not translated as clearly as it could be, but if you do the study word by word, you'll see it more clearly. When the power of the holy people. Okay, I was taught back in the early days of Church of God attendance that the holy people was God's New Testament church. We're the holy people. But when it was written, the holy people was the nation of Israel. And Daniel is written long before the New Testament church starts. So the power of the holy people, i.e. the Israeli nation, is completely shattered. Well, if the prince, the desolator, the one who makes desolate the city and the sanctuary and the nation and the host, and kills them by the edge of the sword and sends them into captivity into all nations, right? He is the desolator of all of God's church? No, because Jesus said, the gates of hell never prevail against God's church. There will always be God's church, right? So here is the destruction, the loss of power. The Israeli army will have no power. They'll be dead or in captivity. The Israeli government will be dead or in captivity. And all of Jerusalem and Israel will be trodden underfoot for 3.5 years. So the power of the holy people has been completely shattered. All these things will be finished, i.e. the end, i.e. the coming of Jesus Christ, the last day. So simply put, desolation per Daniel means Israel gets destroyed. I got here, desolation equals Jerusalem destroyed underfoot. So taking just the one word, which Jesus only uses once in Matthew 24, but says, if you want to understand more about desolation word, go back and study everywhere, right? I added that, but go understand what Daniel has written on the topic of desolation, and it primarily means the desolator, the one who desolates the people of Israel, the city, and so on. So time and time again, Jesus and Daniel use the desolation word to refer to the total destruction of the sacrifices and the sanctuary and the city of Jerusalem and the Israeli nation, which Jesus very clearly said earlier, this is what it's going to be like. There's going to be a Jerusalem. Now, Jewish people do not believe this is going to happen. They read other scriptures where,
In other words, it's talking about the Antichrist when he comes and proclaims himself God.
Yes, exactly.
He's going to deceive everybody.
It's the person, it's the desolator person who makes desolate, right? And that's what Daniel has explained, whereas Jesus didn't take the time to explain it. He just said, one quick clip, abomination that makes desolate, some translations say.
Well, he explains it, but he explains it for us to understand, not for them back then.
Well, he says the fuller explanation is back in Daniel. Go back and study your Daniel.
Because it wasn't meant for them
Yeah.
to understand
So this is what we should understand about that one word, desolation. Okay? So